Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be my eyeshadow palette review for August. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we're going to be reviewing all of the eyeshadow palettes I tried in August, which are 9 of them, which is quite a bit. I normally stick to around 5, so I can also go back to some older things, and I definitely struggled getting all of the looks done before I had to sit down and film this video, but I managed, and so we're going to be talking about all of these lovely things in today's video. If you're unfamiliar with the channel, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, which is why makeup works a little bit differently for me than most people in the online beauty community, which is why I have different preferences. But I've been reviewing makeup for more than a decade, so that means I know my stuff, and I just really like to get stuck in and show you all the swatches and also the looks that I've done when I do these videos, so you can look forward to that. I always love reviewing eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup, so let me get to these eyeshadow palettes right now, but I hope you'd like to consider subscribing in the meantime. So what will we be featuring in today's video? The 9 palettes, I'm going to be having timestamps in the description box and also in the timeline, so if you're not interested in some of these, you can skip them if you'd like, and as I already mentioned, I will be inserting all of the swatches, close-ups, and also the looks that I did with these as well. So we have 3 of the new Zoeva Velvet Love. These aren't super new. I think these launched last spring, and I haven't heard anybody talking about them, and I wanted to try these because Zoeva is one of my favorite all-time eyeshadow formulas, and they did away with all of the older things that I still have, so that's why I wanted to try some of their new stuff. Then what's on my eyes today? The LH Cosmetics Daybreak palette, the Tartelette Energy by Tarte. We have the Oden's Eye Jewels and Gem. Then some Glamshop, which I've already ranked for you the other day. So the Tsimna Mocha, this green palette, and then this purple palette. So those are the 9 palettes. Let me just get to it. We're going to start with the Zoeva things first. So we're going to be kicking things off with these 3 little Zoeva things. This is their Velvet Love line. As I already mentioned, this was launched earlier in the year. They also have some blushes, I believe, and some eye pencils. I actually spotted the brand and their overview of products when I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago. So it was good to see some of those products actually in real life, and it made me realize that the blushes aren't really going to be up my street, even though they seem to have a lovely formula. None of the shades look like they might work on me. So I was still thinking like, oh, if I like the eyeshadows, maybe I'll try some of the blushes, but I think for now, I'm safe when it comes to blush, and I don't really need to try it anytime soon. But yeah, I already mentioned in the intro how I love Zoeva. It's one of my all-time favorite brands for eyeshadow. They didn't get a lot of hype in some online communities for some time, because when the brand tried to be introduced in the US, they were put into like a BoxyCharm or an Ipsy, like one of those beauty boxes that people got, and the palette that was in those boxes and that a lot of people tried weren't the ones that were good. Like Zoeva has some really unique color stories that I have from them, and which is why I rate them highly, and a really lovely buildable formula. And then the palette that everybody got had like a blue that didn't do much, and that's also one of the very few Zoeva palettes I ended up decluttering myself. It was like, what was it called? I don't remember anymore what it's called, but it was a very pretty palette. But now they're doing this. These are quads. Let me show you. And one of these retails for a whopping $27.50, which when I saw that price point, I was like, wow, that is a lot of money for a 4-pan. I mean, it's almost as much as a Huda Beauty palette, but that's a 9-pan. You know, the Obsessions palette, those little guys. So I was like, Zoeva, is this where we want to go? However, the minute I got these in and I swatched them, I realized why this is expensive, because it's an expensive formula. It feels expensive, it feels rich and luxurious. When you first touch these, they don't feel like powders. They are all powder shadows, but they feel creamy without them having that very sticky feel that some like cream to powder sort of formulas can have. It reminds me a lot of much more high-end eyeshadow quality that I've tried as well. This is very similar quality to something like the Lisa Eldridge stuff I've tried, the Victoria Beckham stuff I've tried, but this is half the price of those. So if you compare it to things that I feel perform in a similar way, And then this being half the price point for essentially pretty much as many shades, even though the Lisa Eldridge is like 6 instead of 4. We're still getting a pretty good deal. This feels incredibly rich and creamy. I believe these are infused with rose hips oil or something like that. That's what I remember reading on their website. So that's probably where that richness comes from, because they just have a little bit more oil in the actual formula. And I bought the 3 shades that appeal to me most. This line is very warm toned. It only has one true cool toned option, and it's grays, which is why I didn't buy that one. However, I did buy the lightest one. This is Beautiful Bright Eyes, and I really enjoyed this when I did the look with this. Yes, it's very basic, it's very neutral, but it very much reminds me of the looks I get from some of my K-beauty palettes. Granted, my K-beauty palettes would be cheaper than this, so if you are someone who really factors in costs, then maybe go for a K-beauty palette rather than this. But this is that wash of color. The way these are laid out, they very much remind me of the Charlotte Tilbury little quads that she does. Again, those are like 60, 65 euros. This is again half the price point, because we get a matte, then we get some satins here on the top, and then something that leans a bit more metallic. So this is great for that really basic eye. If you just stick to these two, maybe pop this in the inner corner, and you've got your day look. And then if you want to go more glam, you've got your shade to glam it up. Now this could use a like darker charcoal brown, I think, just to create more depth and definition. You're essentially going to get like 2 or 3 looks out of this little quad, and then you're done. But I think that in terms of where makeup seems to be going at the minute, we seem to be getting a lot of more like one and done things and like smaller palettes like this. And it's all much more about this wash of color all over the lid, rather than a full-on, very defined eye look that we saw a couple of years ago that's like fully snatched. We're definitely going back to what I would like to call wearable makeup. Any makeup is wearable, we all know that. But this is definitely for that basic person who just doesn't want to faff around too much with their makeup, but who still wants to look pretty and wear something, especially if you work in an environment where wearing a lot of makeup may not be possible, it makes you feel uncomfortable, then this allows you to wear makeup but without it being too obvious. Then I bought the Glorious Golden Eyes. You may wonder, Micah, you don't love golds. But I really wanted to try this shade in the corner. That's the only reason why I got this palette. This is a full-on shimmer palette. A lot of these don't have mattes in, but they all have this very satiny quality. And I know that some people are really scared of putting a shimmer in the crease, but this is the kind of shimmer formula that works in the crease. So this works perfectly as a one and done all over the lid, but you can also wear these in the crease wherever you like. Again, not a lot of depth and definition, and I feel that in a lot of these quads, we get a very samey sort of golden shade that is also in some of the other things. So I wish they would have exchanged that gold for something else. In this palette, I don't mind it because it's called Golden Eyes, but in the other palettes, I didn't quite need it as much. But I love these two, and then this. Like, this is a stunning little look. This is a stunning little look, and then this little shade has a bit of a green undertone, which is why I wanted to try it. I was hoping it could be more like a taupe, but it's not. It's more like a very soft antique gold with a bit of a green undertone, and I really like that look. This was my least favorite of the 3. If I were to declutter these anytime soon, this is the one that's definitely gonna go. But the one I would definitely keep is the green one. This is Emerald Green Eyes, and in here we get 3 greens and another gold. This is what I meant when I said I didn't need all of these gold tones in every single palette. There are a few of the other ones in the line that seem to be doing a similar thing. In here we get 3 warmer, more olive-leaning greens, and in terms of like a warm tone, I think an olive still works really well on my skin tone, and I think it's actually flattering for a lot of people. And I ended up doing a look where I did use the gold as a bit of an halo eye, and I loved it. This is again all shimmer. I really enjoyed the quality of this. This wore all day. It looked beautiful on the eyes. This has the right amount of shimmer where when you move your eyes and your head, it captures the light and it really shows up really beautifully. But it's not so metallic that it starts to flake off your lids and it goes everywhere. This is incredibly long wearing eyeshadow. I really enjoyed the formula. These shadows blend themselves Like I said, I liken the quality of these quads by Zoeva to things that are much more high-end. Now, I've been told by some of you that you bought some of these and you decluttered them straight away because you felt you didn't get the variety out of it. I don't think they're meant to give you variety. I think they're just, again, like I already mentioned, giving you that wash of color with just a little bit of a defined eye, especially that lighter one with the matte. Just a quick definition and a shimmer all over the lid, and you call it a day kind of palette. That's what they're trying to go for. And I think if you want more versatility out of a palette, then these aren't going to be for you. But I'm really glad because I think the formula is amazing. It's some of the best quality eyeshadow I've used in a very long time by a brand that's more on the affordable side. As I said, affordable in this case can be a bit like, what do you find affordable compared to some of the other things that are much more expensive? This is affordable, but it is expensive for a 4 pen, I think. But yeah, I think that's great, and I think Zoeva did a really good job here. I just wish that more of the colors were a little bit more versatile. So the range of colors they offer, I feel I've picked the ones that would work for me, and everything else just all seems a little bit repetitive in the line. So I wish they would do more unique things within the line itself, and then I might buy some more. But for now, I keep 2 out of 3. I really enjoy the quality. I don't necessarily need all of the golds. Maybe I can try and see if I can stick that greeny shade from the golden eyes into the emerald green eyes instead of the gold. I could try and do that in like a little project thing, try and see if I can move them out. But I won't be doing that until I've like done a declutter or something like that. So make that one more green, because I think let me show you that this shade, that sort of like greeny gold, would be really pretty in here. Like if this were in there, I think that would work. So I may want to do that at some point, not anytime soon, but that's a brainwave I'm having now that I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you. Next palette is the palette that's on my eyes. By the way, if my voice still sounds a little weird, it's because I don't know what happened, but my doctor said it's some sort of virus. I lost my voice this week and it's getting back. We're back on track. Every day it gets better. But yeah, I do feel that it's sometimes a little bit raspy and that my voice kind of like switches, like it's sort of living its own life at the minute. So I do apologize. The LH Cosmetics Daybreak is up next, and this is what's on my eyes today, and this is a palette I was very nervous for. I bought it a couple of months ago, I think around April, May time, because I've never tried anything by this brand. It's a new to me brand that I've not tried before, and I just haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, but something about this palette has always appealed to me in terms of like a good cool tone color story. We get some purples in here, we get that cooler tone brown in the middle, some grays, a blue, that white, and then a black. So it just appealed to me, but now that she has the Aim Higher palette, I almost wished that I hadn't caved and bought this a couple of months ago and just waited until that one came out, but that would mean I have a crystal ball and I can look into the future, which I can't. So that's why I now have this, and I said I want to try this first before I ever purchase the Aim Higher palette, because that is more taupe leaning, so I know that's going to be much better for me. I love a good taupe, everybody knows that about me. I don't love it when cool tones are grays, so if this had been more brown toned to match this, I would have liked it better. I'm just going to say that up front right now. But one of the fears I had when I purchased this was that it was not going to be good eyeshadow. When I swatched it, I was a little bit underwhelmed with how this performed. In a finger swatch, these shades just don't show up. They just don't. But with a brush, they perform. It's light though. So this is a really nice light color story that I think works so much better. It shows you why you should just never go off of a finger swatch, mainly because these shimmers all have some dimension to them that you don't see until you put it on your eyes. So I feel that these shades truly perform once they work with your lids and like the curve of your eyeball and that sort of thing. Because I'm wearing that pinky shade all over the lid today, and as you can see, it's got this blue note to it. It's much more lavender than it looks in the pan. Same with that white, it's got another bit of dimension to it. And also this gray is much more of an oil slick. It's like a very subtle multi-chrome sort of flippy shade with 2 or 3 different shifts in it that you don't even see when you move the palette around in the pan. You just don't see it until it's on your lid and you really get the curve of your lid to have the shadow hit the light in different ways. So I'm really glad that I stuck with this and that I soldiered on. So I did a look with the gray tones and the brown and the blue. The blue was the most difficult shade to work with. That one I didn't enjoy, but everything else works quite well. So yes, I'm very curious to see if I'd like the Aim Higher even better than I do this one. This is just really beautiful quality makeup. I do think this is a little bit expensive for what you get. This retailed for 44 euros, which is on the higher end of things, and with this only being a 9 pan, I'm like, it's a bit similar to the Zoeva. Like, if you compare this to other 9 pans, is this then expensive or not? And I feel that if I compare this to the Huda Beauty that have much more pigment to them, which are, I think, almost 15 euros less expensive than this is, then this may actually be not that big of a deal, like not a better deal than those are. But Huda Beauty doesn't do color stories like this. And I think that this is a very easy to work with formula. The mattes blend it really easily. It was just that one blue shade that didn't blow my socks off. The shimmers are quite subtle. They're not overly metallic. Again, no fallout, no drop, like nothing dropping down your face by the end of the day. These are really lovely eyeshadows and I really enjoyed working with this palette. So I can't wait to try the Aim Higher, but I'm not sure when I'll purchase it. I think I'm gonna save it for Black Friday. So I can hopefully get some sort of deal on it and not pay full price. Next up is the Tartelette Energy palette. So this is another Tarte palette in their 12 pan style. I have 4 of these palettes. I own the In Bloom, the Toasted, the Juicy, and now the Energy. And I kind of bought this to complete the set, I'm not gonna lie. I never liked the original Tartelette because it was all matte, even though that is the most cool toned option I think they've ever done. Anywho, this is what the Energy palette looks like, and it looks, let me tell you this straight away, it looks more fun than it does when you play with it. Let me just start us off with the positives. This is really good quality makeup. I played with this and was like, yes, this is why I love Tarte. Such easy to build up mattes. This matte in the corner is absolutely stunning. Same as this, and these are actually less warm toned than they look in the pan. Like they're more neutral than you might expect just looking at it. But some other shades in here, for instance the pink, pulls more warm toned than you might expect. So this is the kind of palette where when you put it on your eyes, you're like, that shade does something differently than what I had expected it to do. So definitely that goes into why this isn't going to be my favorite Tarte palette, but I just really love the formula of Tarte palettes. I just do. I think if you're a beginner or someone who feels they're less skilled with makeup, that Tarte is a very safe bet for one of your first more high-end palettes because of that stunning formula. This is really great formula for people who just don't have that much experience. It's very blendable. The shimmers are easy to work with. You can apply them with fingers or with brushes. It's just very versatile. What drew me into this was the fact that it has more shimmers than mattes. A lot of my other Tartelette palettes have more mattes than shimmers, and I prefer a shimmer over a matte, so I was like, I want to try this. And I ended up doing 3 looks with it just to show you what you can do. I did a look with the bottom row, a look with this middle row, and then a look with this berry pink tone row at the top. I have no issues. This is very pretty. It is more warm tone than I had expected. And I do really like the way these things combine. Like this, it looks more gold in the camera, but in real life, this seems to have like a silver taupe brown undertone, but it pulled like a champagne beige when I applied it. So that's why I wasn't a huge fan of the color story overall, but it is the good quality that I know Tarte can do. They're not disappointing in that front. If you enjoy this kind of color story, you like more of a warm tone neutral that is just going to see you through the day and you love your shimmers, then this is a great palette. I don't think it was quite right for me, but I also don't regret purchasing this. I think that I found a brand that I can add to the list of palettes, or like brands that I don't think I'm gonna buy any palettes from anytime soon. And it's this. This is the one that sort of held me back because I was very nervous to try the Oden's Eye Jewels and Gem. This is a really stunning color story. I love the packaging. There's a reason why I didn't also buy the Stone and Rock, because I had a not so great experience trying the Oden's Eye Christmas collection last year. I bought both of the Christmas limited editions and I felt the quality was okay, but the color stories didn't quite come together for me, and the shimmer formula in those palettes just I found very lacking. And sadly, I have similar issues with Jewels and Gem, which is why I'm very happy I didn't splurge and buy both palettes and I just bought the one, because now I'm like, yeah, I did the right thing. Is this color story stunning though? Yes. Where I felt that in the Christmas Eve and Christmas time, or whatever it was called, Christmas tree, those had some really weird shades in that I felt didn't really go. This doesn't do that. This all goes together. Even shades that you go like, would that go together? It goes together. So they've definitely improved on that front. What they haven't improved on is their shimmer quality. And I prefer shimmers over mattes. So if I want to rate a palette, I'm going to rate it by how good the shimmers are, not by the mattes. The mattes in here are stunning. Really great quality, very nice, buttery, smooth, easy to work with, very easy to blend formula. It's the shimmers that just don't show up. This gray in the middle, it's got shimmer in the pan. It didn't have shimmer once I put it on the eyes. It even seems to have a bit of overspray. Like, after sticking my brush and my finger in here to swatch it, some of that sparkliness that it had upon first opening the palette is now gone. Don't like that when brands do that. The purple was perhaps the best shimmer in the entire palette. This was incredibly sheer, so it only worked as a topper. Similarly for this one here, this was pretty, but it's the only warm tone in the entire palette because this pulls peach. Why? And this one was stunning as well, but I felt it wasn't as shiny as I'd like it to be, not even after finger application. So with the shimmers, I just have issues with some of the shimmers that are in here. I just wished it was a little bit differently. But like I said, I did 3 looks with this as well. First look I did was with the top row with these rosy purpley tones. Stunning look, loved it, felt very confident wearing that. Then I did a grungy number with this corner over here, and I was very worried about this red. It's not a red. It's a plum with a bit of brown running through it. It just reads very red on camera and also in real life, but when I put it on, it's like this really nice grayish, darker plum with this reddish brown undertone. It was stunning. I used it in the outer V together with that gray weird blue shade, like duck egg blue, and it worked so well. So well. I really, really enjoyed this. So yeah, the matte's no issue there. Oh, and I did a look with these 4 here. Use the navy as a liner. I love these 2 shades together. These look like they're going to be warm toned, but they're not. Same for this rosy tone. It looks very warm toned, but I blended it together with this purpley shade and was able to tone down the warmth and make it a bit more neutral. And as warm as these look compared to everything else that's going on in the palette, I felt that these shades worked really well on my complexion, and it was the favorite look I did with this palette for sure. I liked all 3 looks well enough. I just wished the formula was a bit easier to work with, but I now know that it's not a batch problem. It's an Oden's Eye formula problem that I have with it. I just don't like this shimmer quality. I just don't. I'm terribly sorry. If Oden's Eye is your favorite brand, you do you. It's all subjective. A lot of people love the Oden's Eye formula. I'm just not one of them. Finally, we have the 3 Glamshop palettes. So I already ranked these for you. I've shown this one as like my favorite cool tone palette. Color story, like it's a thing. Like my love for Glamshop just runs very deep. So this is some of the best makeup I've tried all month. This is a little bit more in-your-face glam, and as I was doing the looks with these palettes, I did a look with each one using all of the shades for every look, and I was doing the looks for this and I was like, oh, this is such a contrast with the eyeshadow I was doing last month, because last month I was in my K-beauty era and I was only trying K-beauty palettes, which is like this wash of color. And now I was going full on glam. I'm here for it. I love a bit of versatility. So I think this is the first one of the three that I tried. This is the purple palette. And this is no longer available on the website, which is a bit of a shame. I bought this on sale. It was only 12 euros. Steal. It's stunning. It's that really stunning Glamshop formula that I love, with blendable mattes that have a great pigmentation, but I don't know what's in this. But for some reason, Glamshop does very impactful eyeshadow, but still workable. It doesn't, you can still pick these up with brushes. You can still, it just works marvelously well. Very blendable mattes in here, some stunning shimmers. I love this one especially. This one was pretty interesting as well. But overall, in terms as far as a purple palette can go, I didn't feel it was that purple. These shades are made to look more purple because of the purple packaging, but I felt it was more pink heavy. So this is quite pink. This pulled pink on me, that pulled pink on me, and that could very well be because I already have that cool to neutral undertone in my skin tone. I have found, especially with brighter colors, that they just don't work on me the way I see it work for other people, where it looks really nice. I've had so many bright palettes that just muddy up on my skin tone because it just doesn't go together. There's just something in my undertone that it doesn't pick up on and it looks muddy. And I felt similarly with this. It just pulled more towards the pink spectrum than it did to like a bluish purple. And I wish I got more of like what's going on in these two shades rather than the rest. Like the rest is all quite berry almost. Stunning, really nice quality, but it's not my favorite of these three. What was far more successful for me was their new green palette. So apparently, according to Google Translate, this translates to nice weed. That's what the palette is called. Apparently Glamshop even has names in Polish that are weird. Like for Polish people, it's even like, why would you call your eyeshadow that? I feel a bit like that about this palette. But this is that like greens with a warm tone kind of palette that everyone and their mother all of a sudden started to launch in May and June. Like Nomad did one, Natasha Denona we got, of course. There was that Stone and Rock palette from Oden's Eye, and Glamshop did this. It's like they're all buying their stuff from the same manufacturers. I think that's part of it as well. We have some warmth with like these yellow tones over here, but this all didn't look as contrasting with my undertone as I had expected. Like yellows can be very difficult to like get right if you have fair skin, especially. It can look a little sickly and just not that pretty, but these worked really well, and especially that shimmer was just wowza. I really enjoyed that, but it's really in the greens here. All of these green tones, there's a reason why these pull a little bit more silvery. They have a gray undertone. They're cool tone greens, and that's why I had this one on my wish list, and this is the one I bought, because A, it has more greens than yellows and mustards, because that's the thing with this yellow, for instance. These yellows pull more mustard on me than they do like a true sunflower yellow, if that makes sense, even though it looks like a sunflower yellow in the pan. Yeah, that's why I singled out this one and not the other ones, because the other ones all seem to have more like olivey tones. So if you have a warmer undertone, then maybe try those other things. Natasha Denona Yucca only has like 2 greens in, so if you want to get that for a green look, I don't think I'd recommend it. But yeah, 6 shades that are green and that really nicely go together. And that mustardy yellow shade is great for a crease, like a matte in a crease. 3 mattes, 6 shimmers, so we know we're gonna love that. And some dimension. I'm not sure if you can see, but this is a duochrome and this is a duochrome. This shimmer is life. So I really like this one. It was also in my Glamshop ranking. I think it was in the top 3. My favorite Glamshop palette now of all time, because this has beaten the Coco Sanka. This is currently listed as sold out on the website. I'm terribly sorry. I hope they bring it back, but it's their Timna Mocha, which translates to cold coffee. So we have one of the best cool-toned neutral color stories that isn't too dark and that is great for fair-skinned people. This this is just life. We get 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes. No, three mattes, because I always think, like, just looking at it, this matte looks white, like a matte white, but it actually has this pinky reflect to it, so it is a duochrome actually. This brown is one of those like shades with a bit of glitter in it to help it blend, so that's why I do count that as a matte. So 4 mattes, 5 shimmers. It's got 2 really stunning, more taupe leaning shades. This is a bit more silvery leaning, and this shade was a bit weird because it seems to have like a pink undertone with a blue flash, but it didn't look like that when I applied it to the eyes. It looked a lot more silvery. Like the way this came together just worked so well, where in the purple palette I felt that the undertones pulled a little weird on me. This, and also in the green palette, the undertones of the shades worked really well with my complexion. And that is why the Simna Mocha is now my favorite all-time Glamshop palette. I just love this thing. It is so incredibly stunning. I hope they bring it back, like I already mentioned, so that more people can purchase it, because Glamshop does some really great things. Just so you know, Glamshop does list a lot of their singles on their website front that are also in palettes, so you might still be able to pick up some shades as singles, and they very often re-release newer palettes that look nearly identical to the things they've already owned, so you can find other cool tone color stories on there for sure. So that's it for me for today. That's my eyeshadow palette review for August. I really hope you enjoyed watching today's video. I am going to be trying out some more palettes next month, so stay tuned for my Shop My Stash at the start of September, because then I will be showing you exactly what we will be trying out in September. So if you'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness, and then I hope to see you in my next video. I still have a few videos left in eyeshadow palette month as well, so yeah. Subscribe so you know when I upload a new video, and then I talk to you soon. Bye bye!